Hello. So I wanted to talk a little bit about testing your blood sugar because this is a theme that's come up lately, and I feel like there's a lot of misinformation going around, and like people who are dealing with really sore fingers all the time. And I've kind of throughout the years developed ways so that my fingers don't hurt, and kind of makes me sad that people don't know this. So I wanted to share. I think it's important to talk about like where on your finger you test. So if you test here or the tip, it will hurt. Guaranteed, it will hurt if you test the pad or the tip of your finger. But if you test the side of your fingers, like this, that should not hurt. You can also test the top around the nail bed, but that takes a little more practice to get it to bleed, and I'm still not quite good with that. But I always do the sides of my fingers, like here. Never the tip, and never the pad. That hurts too much. Other important stuff is your poker. See on the end of it, there's a little dial, and the dial changes the depth of the needle going into your finger. So you want to get the minimum depth you need to get your finger to bleed. Otherwise, it'll go too deep, and then it will hurt. So this one goes 1 through 7. I have experimented with it and the different types of lancets and come up with what works best for my fingers. So you need to kind of trial and error, but the deeper you go, the more it's going to hurt. So you want to back off to the point where you get blood, but it doesn't hurt. Another thing is the type of lancet that you use. So this particular one, you probably can't even see that needle. It's so fine. Maybe you can, I don't know. Nope. Okay. Anyway, so super fine needle. That makes a big difference too. These are called one-touch Delica lancets. They're a 33 gauge needle. If you get those wedge-shaped ones that are fat with like the big giant point on them, that will hurt. It's a big, fat, blunt object getting stabbed into your finger. So not only you have this big fat blunt object getting stabbed into your finger, but if you do it on the pad right here and you do it too deep, oh my god, you're bruising your finger with every poke. You gotta do 10, 12, 15 pokes a day. Your poor fingers, right? So the finer the gauge, the lower the depth, and the placement on your finger are all really important. Another thing that's really important is the way you squeeze your finger. If you just squeeze the crap out of it, it won't bleed. It's not going to be happy. It's not going to want to bleed for you. So if you think about it, your blood is flowing from your heart in your chest down your arm like this, down all the way through all these lovely veins you can see in my hands, down into your fingers. And now there's also the return circulatory system that brings it back to the heart so that it can be circulated again. But for the most part, for what we're talking about, it's flowing from your chest down into your finger. So think about that flow. It's coming this way. So you want to like help work the blood out of your finger. Now, by doing this, I've kind of developed this technique. I'm going to show you. This works every time to get my fingers to bleed, including when my fingers are really cold, like I've been outside in the wintertime all day. I have tips for that too. We'll get back to that. So I'm going to show you how I poke my finger and how I squeeze it, and it works every time. It doesn't hurt ever. I mean, okay, I take that back. Sometimes it hurts, but it usually hurts because I didn't wash my hands well enough and there was something gross on my finger. Like, I don't know, I work in a warehouse, so my hands are usually covered in nasty things like Simple Green and alcohol and dirt and things like that. So that's why it hurts. But the depth and the poke itself, that usually doesn't hurt. So anyway, I'm going to poke my middle finger. This one uses a good bleeder for me, so I'm just going to use it as an example. But you'd also want to figure out which fingers bleed better for you. For me, it's always these fingers on this hand. I don't know why. They're consistent, they're solid, they bleed every time, it doesn't hurt. I can poke multiple times a day and I don't get that bleed over, like one from previously poking in the day bleeds. I don't really get that. I guess I coagulate fast. But anyway, long story short, certain fingers bleed better than others. My middle finger is a good bleeder, so I've come to terms with that. So, got my poker, I've got it cocked right here. I got the depth set to what I want it to. I'm gonna poke my finger on this side right here, and then let's see if I can angle. Okay, here. So, poke it, boom, and then you want to put your thumb underneath your knuckle like this. Take your other finger, wrap it around your knuckle, and squeeze. Now, I waited too long between poking and squeezing, so my finger's not gonna bleed. Like I said, I coagulate fast. Let's do this again. But anyway, that thumb on the bottom, other finger on the top, and that squeeze, massage, kind of coaxing, that's what you want. So, I'm gonna do a different finger, because, anyway, poke finger, thumb, other finger, wrap, squeeze, boom, blood sample, every time, within reason, like I said, sometimes I poke and wait too long to squeeze and it doesn't bleed because I coagulate fast, but, to each their own. You gotta kind of figure out what works for you, what works for your fingers, what lancing device you like, what lance sets you like, what depth you like, which finger bleeds better, where on your finger bleeds better, how you squeeze it. So many variables, just like everything with diabetes. But once you get that down, you can get it every time your finger will bleed and it won't hurt. Like my fingers, they don't hurt, ever. So I've been diabetic for 25 years, and this is the method that I've come up with. Now, like I said, everybody's different, but that's what I've done. So, just to recap, don't just force the blood. If you just grab and squeeze, you'll get a blood sample, but you might bruise your finger. It might hurt a lot, and you'll probably set yourself up for bruising all of your fingers in one day if you got to do 10 samples, and then the next day you got to do 10 more and your fingers are all bruised. So don't do that. Coax the blood out. The wrapping of your fingers around the knuckle underneath the site, you want to wrap and squeeze like this. The depth of your poker, the type of lance set, and the fineness of the needle on the lancet. Those are all really important. So, I hope that helps. I hope this gives you better blood samples and less bruising on your fingers. And, we don't need to add more pain to our life as diabetics. Let's make this as painless as possible. So, hope that helps, and have a good day.